Monday, April the 14th. I just welcome my class. And as always, we're going to continue the virtual class online with Adobe Photoshop. I'm going to share my screen right now, and we're going to start a very exciting class as always. Here we go. All right, so this one here, I guess I'll go right to my Blackboard. And yes, we did talk about the next I like how it was announced, the hidden assignment that just came out of nowhere. It's not really hidden. It's the fact that we never covered the actual animation segment, which is something that we'll cover today. This is under class exercise assignments. As I mentioned in the beginning of the semester, you're gonna have 5 different, in-class assignments. Now, mind you, this is a virtual class. So I gave you like a little extra time to get these assignments done. As you know, I gave you like a week to do it. Technically means you do it the same week, which was due the next classes. See you. So far you did good on all of them, except the last one. It's called Motion Design for Web. It's a basic animation. That one is due next week again, just like the other ones. And this one is a really, really fun one to do. Okay, so let's dive into it and see exactly what it is that we're going to be creating. It's a very simple, straight kind of breakdown with bullet points. For this assignment, you are to create a basic animation in Adobe Photoshop of any choice, as long as you incorporate the following. So minimum of 90 frames. By the way, the size is 800 by 300. That's a good size to project on a website banner. If you want to create like a YouTube little short movie or a format, you can follow the YouTube size guidelines. You want to create a social media ad, like we did in the previous collaborate assignment, you can also do so as well. So whatever the size is, you can decide and then produce the animation afterwards. So I just gave this one out just as a standard size to go with. We're going to go with minimum of 90 frames. Now, 90 frames is honestly, if you do 3 frames a second, is really not that long. Motion design tweening is something I'm going to show how you do today. Okay. Opacity or effect tween, that's optional. I'm going to show you how that works as well today. I put optional because some people don't find it necessary to do maybe both. You might find the opacity interesting, but you don't have to basically do both, okay? You can do one or the other. And then finally, you're going to do export the actual format for web. So file, export, save for web. And you're going to produce a GIF, some call it a GIF, a graphic image format animation. And you're also going to give me a Photoshop file for submission. The GIF will produce the animation for a website. You can play a GIF on any browser, on any social media platform. Even now when you do your WhatsApp and text messages, you can find funny little animated GIFs that you can send to people. A lot of people convert videos to GIFs. They produce a few frames. So these are the fun things that you can do with Photoshop, of course, producing GIFs from your designs. Okay, it's really, really quite spectacular how you can put your creativity to life. So it's no longer a simple, still looking design, but it's something you can kind of tell a story with. I did talk about the example just not too long ago about a student at the portfolio show. They did their book cover assignment and they told it in like a story, like in parts, how it came about to be. So they produce like the background, then the images, then the typography, and all the elements come to life. It's a quick little, the visibility frame by frame effect, but that's also just as compelling in terms of telling a story and how you go about creating something from scratch. So we're going to explore all these different things today, and you're going to be able to do this after the lesson's done. Now, we also talked about next week. Next week is Easter Monday, on the same day we land today. Now, some people don't celebrate, Easter Monday. They do the Good Friday, they call it. The businesses take the day off. To take 2 days off, it's a little bit of a stretch. So that's why I asked all of you if you're okay with that, and most of you answered okay. So we will continue as scheduled. Easter Monday is going to be like our last day, and we're going to meet here on April the 21st. Okay, so that's going to be your last class next week. Usually that class is a presentation class. You're not doing presentations in my class anymore. I used to do it a long time ago for your second composite assignments. However, I'm going to throw you an extra class and expand more on the subject and teach you how to do um, video motion design. So instead of using the timeline, we're going to be creating the video timeline. It's going to be a short class just to throw something extra bonus material at you. And that'll wrap up the semester with the Photoshop class. Now, let me ask all of you, when are you doing your composite to assignment presentations? Are you doing your composite to presentations? Are you doing it in Felicia or Roberto's class, or one of the two?
We don't have presentations per se. We just have to submit all our work for all the composite during all this week
Okay,
for
so there's no
everybody.
presentations. Good. We used to do both. We used to do two presentations. I agree with you. We all agree the same. All the teachers would say, well, there's no point of doing two presentations for these things. One presentation is enough. And I'm sure you did a good job on the first composite assignments. The next presentation is going to be next semester. You'll do a group presentation with me with the UX UI design class, and you'll do like your portfolio night. Okay. All right, excellent. So let's go ahead and move on with the lesson now. We went over the particulars, and we'll move on with the module here. I'm going to make it visible for you. So motion design, class number 13, module number 13. After we segued from the web design stuff, and just to quickly kind of recap where we left off, I always like to do that just very, very quickly. Make sure you watch the videos. If you haven't, it's already uploaded online. So we do have the class 12 producing different web assets. We're able to produce a website right from Photoshop. Really, really cool stuff. We can also create multiple artboards as we did with the other pages. And then not only that, we're able to do a sliced version. A sliced version is basically producing an HTML from Photoshop to produce an actual website, like a real website slicing image. This is a technique that we used back in the day, okay? When there was no mobile devices and stuff, we can see how, it can still serve as a good presentation piece if necessary, okay? So that's the kind of stuff we did back then. Take it even further, we did an actual XD approach. So we're able to take our Photoshop file and open it in XD and produce an actual, um, you know, prototype there, like a presentation prototype in XD. So you can do so many different things as a designer these days. It's really beneficial to you and to your audience, whoever you're presenting your work to, because there's no more, obstacles like we had before with browsers and versions and compatibility. You can do so many things now, thanks to the way you can export these things in various sources, especially for HTML and browsers. And once that's agreed upon, then you can produce the actual website. There's no point you producing a website when the client doesn't, hasn't picked their images and colors and menus and flow and everything else that goes with it, with the building a website, right? This is why these things are very important before you go building an app or a website for your clients. Now, the next element we're going to produce now is, in addition to this, to produce an animated banner for the website. Let me just quickly, before I forget. I guess this banner here that you see, the Amazon Prime banner, that could be an animation that we can replace it with. That's after we produce the HTML. These can all be individual GIF animations. I mean, we can do a lot of little GIF animations based on our targeting or our purpose. So if I show you just some animated GIFs that are out there, I mean, these are more like the fun stuff, promos, like promotions. ads. I'm sure you see a lot of these days. Now, some of these they could be a video that was converted into a GIF. It could be also like a stop motion design where you can turn the cup in different frames and produce this seamless loop of an animation. Okay. Again, same similar thing here. Very simple, yet very effective of how you can produce, especially these days with social media, browsers and stuff. You can produce this in Photoshop. Okay. As long as your creativity is there, there's nothing you can't do with these things. Okay. Small stuff like this. Okay. Now be careful because there are some more advanced ways of creating motion design. I'm not gonna tell you that Photoshop is the best solution for this. Photoshop is a pretty good solution, but not if you want to go a step beyond, you have to use After Effects. Okay. And even this you can do in Photoshop. After Effects does more advanced animation or motion design. But when it comes to stuff like this, you can do, in Photoshop as well. Okay. But more advanced stuff, you can use After Effects, Adobe Animate, and some other more advanced programs. Okay. Another simple effect with the water there you can do. It's actually pretty cool, this one. Interesting. Just to have something slightly move in the background, you can produce this one. I like this idea, actually. I'm going to save this one here. Just very simple but effective. I'm going to go to the desktop, just save it there for now. And when I say save it, what I'm going to show you is how, see, even something like this. Look, just a couple of frames. It's like, look, it's snowing, right? But all they're producing is a couple of frames of animation. Here's another one. Okay. Very simple, yet effective. Okay. Hmm. This is a little more advanced because there's a lot more smaller particles moving around. Okay. So that one you have to use more advanced software. It's a little too simple there. Right. So you get the idea here, right? This is exactly what we're going to do with this next segment of Photoshop. I'm going to teach you how to do this kind of stuff. All right. Now, I'm not going to convert you onto like a professional animator, like Walt Disney style, although you can, take it to that level if you put the work into it. But these are the tools that you can incorporate to get it done. Okay. So let's go ahead and start with the examples that I gave you here. And the reason why I downloaded these so I can show you what they look like independently. So you can see here, this one here, different size, and this one is a different size. So there's no set size on these things, depending on what the outcome is. Now, if I go and double click on this, it's going to open up in the actual the preview program, and you can see all the frames that were produced. This one has 24 frames to make this water poolside animation of the pop can of the Coca-Cola ad. Notice another thing, the quality, it's dithered or deteriorated in a way. The reason is because GIF only supports 256 colors. I know it's like the 90s, right? This is the thing is it hasn't improved since then. GIFs are still limited to 256 colors. So that's why when you make MP4 movies and more advanced stuff, it's better. It's got millions of colors and things like that. But GIFs, simple, effective, but limited in color. So you want to, kind of, but if you zoom out, it's fine. And no one's really going to zoom in like this, but I'm sure to show you that if you do decide to do something large format, it might not work. Plus, it might increase the file size. More effective is when you do something simple like this. See, typography, limited color, okay, things like that work better. More graphical oriented type of design than textures and even photographs of people. Notice how there's not a lot of people animations like real characters and stuff. Although they convert movies, but those are Again, you can tell they're grainy, right? So things like this work really well when you do produce a GIF. This one has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. How many frames is this one here? Oh, I see. So it's 2-frame animation, but it got broken up into, it's split evenly within 15 frames and 15 frames. So it's 2 seconds, 15 frames a second. And here's the catch point right here. So frame 15, it looks like this. 16 looks like that. So you can actually produce 2 different outcomes, this and this, and keep having a flash back and forth. I'm just moving my key, my arrows up and down on directional keypad. You can produce this and create this nice effect in Photoshop and make a GIF out of that. Okay, so this is just some very popular ideas that I see and come across, and I wanted to show you just the things you can produce, right? Now, the exercise I have set up for you is something that you're going to be downloading from Blackboard. So let's go ahead and this thing here, motion design for web. Click on that. Okay, it's called Air Miles with Air Canada.zip. Let's download that package folder. So go to download original file. Okay, save it to your desktop. This is called Web Ready Folder with Animation. This is just like a prequel to what we did with the web and the Web Ready and stuff. How to put it all together. It's a miscellaneous file, not as important, I would say, but just to show you some of the things you can do afterwards. So we can replace this top banner here. This is a website we put together in Photoshop. We can make this top aqua colored banner with an animation. Okay, so this can be the animation that we're going to place in there if we need to do that. Okay, so just like an extra file for you to explore with. So again, not to worry about that one so much. More or less, let's look at the Air Miles with Air Canada. Now, before Air Canada and the Air Miles did do a promotion, I think, together. So we just used some ideas and sources to use this as our promotional ad. So yes, today we're going to be flying to a nice destination. We're going to be using Air Canada, okay, partnering up with the Air Miles program. I think Air Canada now uses Aeroplan miles. It's a different program for getting points. You guys know these points. They put them on credit cards and gas stations and grocery stores. Everybody has points nowadays, right? So they're a big thing because there's a lot of money, generated from the point programs. So we're going to create a point type of advertising for the point systems, partnering 2 major brands, Air Canada, Air Miles. Notice how they're both transparent. They're PNG files. You can get any logo off the internet and do the same thing. And then I have a picture of an Airbus. So it's like an airplane. So what do all these things have in common is we're going to tell a story of how these promotions can work together when they're put in an animation format. Give me 1 second quickly here. Okay, my apologies. So basically, we have the 3 main ingredients to work with. You can also get things like backgrounds, images, and all kinds of sorts of sources to integrate with this animation. So first is preparation. You prepare all your graphics, all your items, put all your ingredients to use, and then we're going to produce the animation that way. Now, I do have an idea of producing clouds ourselves, so we're going to do utilizing that background. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started now. Let's open Photoshop to start with. All right. I'm going to create a new file right off the bat. Okay, so the new file is going to match our criteria dimensions that we mentioned earlier. Since we're doing stuff for the web, we measure in pixels. These are some of the social media ads my students did in WDDM. So even something like this, I can open up and produce an animation if I want. So let's say this was an ad you did in your first assignment that you did, the composite assignment. So this has all these different layer groups. You have the text, for example, you have the price, you have images, and you have the heading. So all this can basically look like that. And what I can do is tell a story of the advertising by introducing, start your day, and this can last for 2 seconds. I can put the coffee, basically start your day with Tim Hortons, coffee and a bagel or a donut, and then and put the text to produce the description of what these beverages or food items mean, and then actually I can introduce the price, and I can make the price maybe blink a few times, and this alone can be like an animation that I can produce to make this happen. Okay. Now you're wondering, well, how do you do that? Because we know how to do this, but how do you actually produce the animation? So let me just do that as I'm talking to you right now. I'm going to go to Window. Now, earlier versions of Photoshop, for example, if you are using a previous version, it was called an animation palette. So it was under animation. Right now it's called the timeline. So just remember, in case you did do this in your previous versions and stuff, it's changed to the timeline right now. Most video editing softwares do have a timeline. I'm sure you're familiar with the timeline, something that you watch your movies on, whether it's YouTube. Even the old days, you had maybe a DVD or you had a VCR, other players and things like that. They all have a timeline integration. And the way timeline goes is from left to right. That's how you produce time. And you can rewind, fast forward, pause, and do these different things. Now, space to time is the term used in like Star Trek. It's like science fiction. Space is accumulated vertically. Time is distributed horizontally. So we're producing space to time. Okay, that's the analogy here. So we can create a video timeline, or we can create a frame animation. If you click on this little arrow here, you can choose either one. Now you're watching me do this. And then after you see me do this, we're going to collaboratively do the other one together with the stuff I gave you. This is just an example from a student project I received in my web development program. And they were creating, social media ads. So this was their Photoshop project that I gave. You did something similar with your ad campaign in the other class as well. So you guys can convert your projects the same way. You create a frame animation, and then you acknowledge it by clicking on the frame animation button. And that's going to produce this little timeline that looks like that. Now I'm going to increase the size, so panel options. I'm going to create this into like a larger thumbnail. You don't have to do this. I'm doing it just for visual purposes. And I do have this frame timeline that looks like this. This is my first frame. If I click over here, another thing that I checked off by default that you might want to do when you first do this is make sure both of these are checked off, because I think by default, this might be checked on. Okay, so you want to make sure these are both off. I can't remember which one. It might be just one, not both. Okay, so maybe I think this is how default works. So new layers visible in all frames. I think this is how the default should look like. What I want you to make sure is you control what happens at every point of time reference. You just turn off all the check marks, because what happens is if you decide to add something later, it's going to apply itself on all the previous layers, and it might kind of interfere with your animation sequence. So by shutting all these off, you have more control of your insertion points of your important items that
Where
goes in
you
your
find
animation.
that text box?
Over here on the side, right
Oh,
here.
okay, okay. So
Make
same on the
sure,
timeline is like in this. Okay, thank you.
yeah, but tell me, was this on or off? Tell me now so that you're clicking on it because I can't remember. Mine is, I always shut mine on and off all the time when I
I don't know
demonstrate this.
because I didn't open a file
Oh,
because you
I
said
see.
that we have to just
But
leave
if
it.
you just click on it even now, like a blank click, you can see if you can see it. Tell me if it's on or off. If you can't, don't worry. I just want to make sure everybody's aware. I think it's on by default. So you just have to make sure just check it off. Now here's the thing. Um, it won't make even if you forget to do it, it's not a big deal. You can do it after. It's just what I'm saying is I'm kind of prepping it for you so you have no obstacles later on. So it's not really a huge deal, but it's good to have control over this. Now, the next thing is you have a frame showing. This is a representation of what's going to happen at that given frame, of course. We get to prepare this from the beginning. So we turn off all these different layers, okay? Now, even like the heading, so this can go first. I'm just preparing it. Second, third, fourth. I'm going to do the text. So I'm going to do this order right here. 1, 2, 3, 4 frames. That's the way I'll tell the story. So here's the 5 frame. This is the first frame. So 5 frames total. So frame number 1, red background, nothing else. Okay. Frame number 2. Now watch what I'll do here. I'm going to click on this button here. Okay. This duplicates the selected frame. I don't know if you've done any animation before, but when I was a lot younger, I used to do this on a piece of paper, like a notepad. I would even do it on books. I would flip every page and draw a new picture. And I would flip the next page and draw another picture. So I would do what's called a frame by frame animation. And it's funny enough how this is still applicable today. How do you think they do all these more, I don't know if you watch anime or some of the other more classical animations like Walt Disney even. That's how they Bart's The Simpsons and Family Guy and all those shows out on TV. They still use traditional methods, frame by frame drawing techniques. Now, they have more advanced systems in place, of course, with as far as coloring goes, rendering. Photoshop's a great tool when it comes to helping them. There's other software out there, advanced tools that they use, but the concept is the same. Okay. And of course, 3D animation is a whole new different ball game because for that they use 3D rendering software. Okay. Now, we're not, you know, just because all these things are available, you don't have to do everything. This simple thing I'm going to show you can be just as effective and if not generate more revenue than the more expensive things. It's a matter of delivery and effectiveness. Okay. So let's go ahead and do this right now. This is simple, but it'll convey the message. So frame 1, let's duplicate the next frame, frame 2. All I did was click on this little box right here. On frame 2, we decide what happens next, and we all decided to have the heading start. I can make this bigger, smaller, but I'll leave it for now. Let's duplicate the frame next. Frame number 3, I'm going to show the next image show up, which is the products. Same thing, click on frame number 4. We're going to produce the text, which introduces the ingredients and the description for the products. And frame number 5, we produce the price because, wow, $3. Now it's covering that thing there. So I should, I'm going to auto select group. I'm going to move this up a bit over here to have the $3. Okay. Just so it doesn't get on the way. Now, I want to really make this thing more applicable. So I'm going to produce another frame, hide the price, produce another frame, show the price, another frame, hide the price, another frame, show the price. So it's going to go blink, blink, right? So it's like $3. Wow. All that for $3. And then it'll stay like that, right? It'll stay like that. And then what happens later, it'll play all over again. Okay, so this is what we produced. Now, if I press the play button down here, it's like your, player controls. What happens is it'll look like this. Well, that was pretty fast. Now, obviously, this is a little too fast. So what we have now, we have to add what's called time control. Because it's playing like, look, 0 seconds. That means it's playing as fast as this thing can go. Now, on the browser, it might be a little slower, but I still can't rely on this thing playing like this, right? So what I have to do is go to each frame and tell it how long I want it to be. Well, all across the board, I can select all the frames with Shift. So you can hold Shift and create as multiple frames as possible. I'm going to go from frame 1, Shift, frame 9. So all the frames, I'm going to delay them for half a second. Zero point 0.5 means 500 milliseconds or half a second. I can even do 0.2. Actually, 0.2 might be better. I don't want it too slow. I don't want it too fast. Let's go to 0.2, which is 200 milliseconds. Let's press play now. Okay, still a little fast. So I might go 0.5. So I select, watch carefully, I select all of them. I click on the bottom here where the timer is, and I'm going to go 0.5. Okay, so that's a little better, I think, right? Except at the end, I want it to stay there for at least 2 seconds. So instead of skipping this, I'm going to make this last 2 seconds, so 2.0. So everything is half a second until the end. This stays for 2 seconds. So see, I totally time managed the whole thing and controlled it. But first, deciding on the overall sequence and then controlling individual time slots to last as long. Okay, let's press play now. Stays for 2 seconds and then plays all over again. Right, and there you go. This can be your animation. So then you can have it keep playing or you can have it stop. Like this doesn't have to play ever again. Like this can stop now and it won't play or loop. Sometimes it's more effective if it stays like this. It's like, people already saw it, so why would they see it again? So this is enough. It told a story and then it stops, which is just as effective. So now how do you send this on social media? How do you produce this on a website? How do you send this out to people? Because right now all we have is a Photoshop file. So first we save the Photoshop file as always. I'm going to save this as my Tim Hortons advertising. Okay. I'm going to go to the desktop and save this under my Photoshop file right here. And then what I like to do is produce it for web, of course. So we're going to go to File, Export, Save for Web. So this is how now we produce the animated GIF. So when you go Save for Web, you go over here and you change it to a GIF or a GIF format. So this is how GIF works. It's going to ask you a few my Photoshop sometimes acts up when it comes to these web export. I noticed that last week it did the same thing. So what I do is I switch my screens, and then it seems to work after. All right. So we're gonna go with selective. The colors are basically based on the default. So I'm gonna leave this alone. Just make sure you select GIF. Again, it does the same thing. Okay. So GIF selective transparency. You don't have to have transparency on, okay, because it's not necessary. Everything else is that by default, it should detect what you need to do. If you see something that you don't like, you can change the settings. The main thing here, the takeaway is GIF. The colors are maxed out at 256. That's the maximum you can go, okay? And everything else is left alone. Again, it keeps doing this on me, so I gotta switch back and forth. And now I'm gonna go ahead and hit the save button. This is gonna be 300 kilobytes, very small considering it's a 1080 by 1080 pixels. It's a social media size, okay? And it's going to be 300K. So if I was to press the play button, you can see the actual preview very quickly. All right. And this will be exactly what I'm getting. All right. Now, oh, by the way, it keeps looping. So I'm going to go ahead and hit this looping forever. I'm going to tell it to play once. I can also go other and play it only like 3 times or 1 time, or let's do 3 times, okay? All right. Might have to do this again. All right, so 3 times. I looped this 3 times. I'm saving it as a GIF. Let's go ahead and hit the save button. And this will be saved onto the desktop. Now, just remember, you're saving the images only, not the HTML, the images, which is the GIF animation, and this will be saved onto the desktop, okay? So let's go ahead and, I don't need the HTML extension, just keep it simple. Hit the save button, and you're going to use GIF if it asks you that question, just because I turn off the extensions there. Okay, so that's how you can create something from an existing artwork. And this was one of my students in the WDDM. Okay, and she did a great job with this ad, and I just use it as an example here. But you can do the same thing with your ad that you did and do the same example. So this is the Photoshop file, which we know only we can open, but the audience that we're going to send it to can only open the GIF. And the GIF looks like this. Let's see if it plays 3 times. This is the second time. This is the third time. Now, keep in mind, I'm in preview mode, so it might keep looping because in preview mode, it loops regardless. It overrides anything I told it into the presets for me exporting it, which is a preview. This is what a preview looks like. But if I was to put this on social media, or if I was to drag this on a website or put it on a browser, it should obey my 3-time rule. Let's go ahead and prove that right now. I'm going to open up a new tab. All right, here we go. Here's the GIF. Drag it to the browser. Let's watch the ad. So 1. Here's number 2. And this is number 3. Notice how it doesn't stop it, doesn't play anymore. It stopped right at 3 because I told it to only play 3 times. So this is how easy it is to produce an animated GIF from Photoshop. All you have to do is produce the frames and the durations and things like that. And this is the outcome you're going to get. Okay, so all your nice work, I mean, even your book cover, you can tell a story of how you created the cover by showing different visuals of different parts come to life. That goes for any of your work that you've done in other programs as well. You can bring it to Photoshop and do the visual storytelling of how it came to be. All right. So this is a more simplistic approach to effective, but simple, right? But what good is this if you have to do something more advanced, like an animation, like a real motion design? So for that reason, I brought these items for you to use, which is again just to point you in the right direction. I asked you to download this motion design for web. So I want you to download this file here because that's the one we're going to utilize for this example that we're going to do in class right now, which will again help you with the next assignment that you have to do, which is due next week. And I went over that already. Just to quickly kind of recap everything again. It's the motion design for web. Now, if you want to do something that I just showed you, I guess you can, but then you're not going to include motion design tweening. So you'll be missing some points on that. So I want to make sure you up it a little better. And basically what I showed you was okay, but let's really go for the big winner here. Let's add the motion design tweening that I'm going to show you now, which is more effective. Okay, so after I show you the next example on how to do it, you can do that and much more. Okay, all right. So let's go ahead and do that right now. So this is the file you're going to download. It's going to be an Airbus. Could be anything. A flying, saucer, or it could be a soccer ball or whatever you wanted to move across the screen. Could be a favorite animation character. Could be a product like a Kit Kat bar or coffee or something, right? And this could be the brand name, a logo, and this could be something else. Okay, another proper product. So I got 3 here, which is more than enough, and this will tell us the story about what we're going to do. Now let's close this Tim Hortons ad down. Okay. All right. And then Malkoch did a good job on that one, by the way. I want to give her the credit for that ad. Now let's go ahead and pretend we're doing this project. Please don't use the Air Canada logo. Please get your own graphics. Okay. So I don't want you to do it's just boring, right? I want you to do something more creative. So I want you to come up with your own creative theme instead of using my Air Canada logo. So again, I'm going to repeat it, do something else. Maybe you know what I should, because people still forget. So I'm going to just kind of put it here right now before I forget that one. So let's go to motion design. Okay. Not the Air Canada or Air Mouse theme.
Don't steal my example. That's the thing that you should write.
What's that?
Don't steal my example.
Yeah, sure. Well, I mean, they can still get the ingredients, but if you really want to do that theme, you can change it up with some of the stuff you can have, right? There we go. And I don't want to accuse people of stealing either. That sounds a little harsh, but I know what you mean. Okay. So I think that's clear enough now. And we're going to take the approach of copying the criteria. So 800 by 300. So we're going to go to Photoshop, and I showed you the social media ad. Do you want to make this? Do you guys want to make this a social media ad size? I don't know about 800 by 300. I mean, it's good for the websites. I like to switch it up a bit. You know what? Let's do a social media advert. Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
I like to switch things up, because this is getting a little old right now. This assignment has been around for a long time, I'll be honest with you. These are the new sizes now. So social media has changed, everything's changed. Let's do that. This way you have a purpose. You can put this on social media. You can make money doing this, okay? Companies need this done for theirs. You know how many social media campaigns are out there? And you guys can do this, and this could be your portfolio too. So why don't we do it 1080 by 1080 instead of a
Is
cheap
it
little
is
what?
it the new sizes? Because I'm confused. Because Instagram just changed
They'll
for
keep
our
changing it,
rectangles,
but
not a square anymore. So that's why it's a bit different, slightly different. I don't
well, when
remember.
I don't know. I remember you telling me that, but if you go to
Yeah,
Insta,
it's just because they're on the feed. They are not
look,
squares anymore.
1080 pixels.
Still,
1080 pixels. Yeah. Every time I look, it's the same thing. So I don't think they changed it. Unless you go into 1200 620. This is the old one they used to use, but this is the
no,
new one.
no. Because if you go to Instagram, I know it because I had all my pictures
So
on
this
a
one here,
square, and now it doesn't work
1350.
anymore. Yeah,
If you want to
yeah.
go with that one, that's fine. But honestly, this fits just as well. I think it'll work. Will they reject it? You're telling me if they do this,
No, no. It's just like if you see the feed,
right?
then it's gonna be like it's gonna cut the edges of the image. That's what.
It will.
It's what happened with mine. Like all
Oh,
my pictures, like
huh.
they look weird.
Okay.
But it's just
There's
if you
no
post it,
mass.
like this is just
Ma-
an
ma-
exercise,
So
but
if you
just to
do
let you
no,
know.
but I like to discuss these details because they're important. You don't want to do all this work and then, but portrait Instagram ads. So if you're doing portrait Instagram ads, it's a 4:5 ratio. Then you might want to do that. But for the 1:1 ratio is this one. So I think they
Gotcha.
have two ratios. Okay, that's why.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to leave it this for now. But if you have encounter any type of criteria for other things you're doing, you can do as Matson and me just discussed, a 4:5 ratio. You could up just the height a little more. Okay, make sense? So let's stick with this one for now because it just makes life easier. Because I still see that pop up when I Google it or I search for the Instagram size. All right, so let's go ahead and do that one. I just changed the size for now, minimum 100 frames.
More frames? What?
Oh, come on, only 10 frames. You'll see the example I'm going to make right now will be 100 frames. It's not going to be like the one I did for the ad. That's more like a simple one. This is something that you can produce more with the example I'm going to show you. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started now. Okay, so this is the last changes that I made. I'm going to go ahead and go to Photoshop, create a new file, and make 1080. So if I go to, let's say, web, mobile, I think there's a 1080 by 1080 pixels. Resolution is always 72. Make sure it's pixels, not inches. I did have students by accident, they typed 1080 inches and their computers crashed. Because 1080 inches is 100,000 pixels. And that's way too big for any monitor, okay? So make sure this is set to pixels. Resolution is always 72. RGB is always the color for the resolution, of course, for the screen. And let's hit the create button. Maybe because I'm sharing my screen, my program's acting up a little bit here. I'll do this again. Can you guys see my screen okay?
Yes.
You can see my screen okay? All right. So new file. Thousand eighty pixels by 1080 pixels. Resolution is 72. RGB color mode, white background. Here we go. Make sure the timeline is visible. So if I do close it, I'm gonna open it one more time. It used to be called animation. Now it's called a timeline. I like to dock it down here. Dock means just drag until it turns blue. And we're going to create what's called a frame animation. Okay. Next week, I'll show you video animation. Okay. So I'll do a little bit of both. But today, we're going to do frame animation because that's the one that's more popular in Photoshop and you have more control of it when it comes to sequencing and things like that, or visibles. So create frame animation. Make this a little taller, just enough to see everything. Okay, we're doing the Air Canada theme as an example, as I did put in the requirements. I want to see you do something different and more creative. So do make a social media ad, right? And this could be a great portfolio for you. Like look all the skills you guys have in Photoshop. You can do something really special with this. So first, I would like to create my own texture. So based on this black and white, I'm going to change the black to blue. So now I have blue foreground color, white background color. Did you know that when you go to filter, render, clouds, what happens is Photoshop produces a random cloud texture based on your foreground and background colors. So it's going to look like blue and whites. And if you do it again up here, it'll repeat the same filter again and again. It'll do millions of random formations until you're happy with the way it looks. This could be my own background, or I can go on the internet and get a picture of real clouds, or you can create your own clouds. We can also use AI to generate cloud. We can press Command A, select everything, open up our prompt window, contextual taskbar. I know we don't use AI a lot because I mean, I did show it to you, but if you want to use it more and put it to good use, you can definitely go ahead. I'm going to do just type clouds. Okay, let's see what happens here. Getting better and better, this stuff, but it all depends on how you use it and integrate it. Okay, you see what I mean? Now, if I put, there we go. We put realistic clouds, it might look a little better, right? So maybe I'll go with this one over that one. I can use either one. So I'm going to press Command E, or just merge layers. And now this is my cloud background that I'm going to use for my animation. I'm also going to put this away, hide the bar, because it does get on the way sometimes.
Can you go again to generate with AI? It never works for me. It always appear the bar and it says
Oh,
select subject or remove background, but not
so
generate a filter.
so in this case, you have to make a selection, right? I went Command A, select all. I went to select all, and that made a whole selection of everything. And then I went to a contextual taskbar, and I'm gonna put something else. Realistic clouds, realistic clouds. I'll be more specific with my prompts. And hit generate after, and it should work. But you have to make sure there's a selection made. Otherwise, you won't know where your target is.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So there we go again. I'll be honest with you, I liked my clouds before. Okay, these don't look that bad actually. Right? Actually, I like this one. Let's go with this one here. Before and after. Okay? Because it looks more like cartoony. So I'm gonna Command E or just go to layer, flatten image. This is my new background design. Okay? Next, let's introduce our cast. Our cast is the first one, drum roll. We're gonna go file, place embedded. Embedded means you can keep it within the file. You can do linked and edit it externally. It's up to you. There's benefits of doing it both ways. So if I do, maybe I'll do linked for now to show you what I mean. So instead of embedded, I'll use linked for this case. I'm going to go to the desktop where my sources are. First, I'm going to introduce the Airbus. This is the airplane that's going to fly across the screen. And there it is. And I'm going to tilt it slightly this way because it is going to fly from here to there, right? And I'm going to have to go fly diagonal. I'm going to press, so this you can rotate, you can scale while you bring in the actual airplane, right? And then press enter, right? Now, normally, if this was an animation, you're going to create frame animation. So make sure you click on this button to see this thumbnail. Otherwise, you won't see the animation timeline. And I'm going to turn off this contextual taskbar so we can focus on what we have at hand. And here I have a picture of the airplane and the background situated as you see it. Now, frame by frame, what I can do is click on, as I showed you earlier in the previous example, I can add a frame, frame 2, and what I can do is move the airplane slightly this way. And I can keep doing this on and on. This is great for creating more realistic, organic animations. I used to teach the animation media program for the Toronto Film School, and we used to do like the bouncing ball, which is a very popular animation assignment all across the colleges in Ontario. And you would do the bouncing ball, but I would use a program called Flash. In Flash, we would create a bouncing ball project, and all the students would create a bouncing ball interactive assignment. And of course, they would make it interesting, like basketball, soccer, volleyball, any sports. And then you would interact with the ball and make it like a game and make it really fun and intuitive. And that's what we would do in this. Now, look how many frames. I made 15 frames here, and I'm just moving this a little bit at a time, right? Now, this is an old school way to do it. Maybe I can move it down, up. You can do different things here. Maybe here I can slightly move it upwards. Here I can move it like downwards. I can go to any frame here and modify the actual existing animation, okay? So frame by frame animation, still effective. Yeah, it's time consuming, but as long as you have the time and the effort and the work ethics, you can really do some powerful stuff with this. Let's press play. Here we go. I don't want to be on that airplane, to be honest with you, because it does have some turbulence, but that's how you can do some really, really cool stuff just by simply producing a frame by frame animation. So you can see how if you have a template, you do a realistic bounce of a ball and things like that. Okay, So frame by frame, and you can keep going now, and I can keep, bringing in, let's say I go to frame 18, I create a new frame again. This is the magic formula. You press this button to continue onwards. So you go to the end and you keep telling a story. As long as this is shut off, okay, and this is shut off, you're good. So make sure this is shut off, because now if I introduce the new one, let's move this airplane out of the way, okay? And if you can't see it anymore, you press the command button, you can kind of see everything that's there. If you hold control, you know there's something here hidden, and you know that layer is there. So I'm going to introduce the new place linked. We're going to place the Air Miles logo. Okay, and I'm going to make it a little smaller here.
Before you continue, how you actually add the first image there to the timeline? Because I cannot do that. I haven't been able to do that.
You have to click on create frame animation. Click on the button.
Yeah.
And then you'll see the thumbnail show up. I can't go back because I'm already
Oh,
here.
okay, okay. Yeah. No. Yeah. I got it. I have it now. Thank you.
And then you click on this button here to make the other frames,
Yeah,
right?
to add the rest. Thank you.
No problem. So then this logo comes in. The thing about doing it this way, you're stuck with doing it frame by frame. So as you can see, then this, look, I make a new frame. Gonna go like this. I make a new frame, a new frame. What I can do here is this stuff, right? I'm at 25 now. I make a new frame again. Let's place the last one. This will be the Air Canada logo. Create a new frame. Create a new frame. I'm purposely doing this choppy to show you just the process. But if you're doing something more natural and more organic, this does actually produces some nice results. But for this, you'll see a better technique that's going to come next, okay? So this is now 32 frames. I gave you to do 100 frames. I did this in a matter of minutes. You know where I'm going with this, right? If I press the play button, this is what the animation will look like, right? So not very organized, but it all based on, how much time you put in. But don't forget, I can pause it. Okay, I can do these little things and make it happen. Okay, so you can mix this up, or you can also do a little bit of in between. In between means between the frames. So now I'm gonna show you a more professional way of doing this. So I'm gonna click on the last frame. Watch this. Click on the last keyframe. Scroll to the left and click on frame number 2, because I can't delete the first frame. The first frame is how it all begins. You can't delete, the inevitable or whatever is there. So you can only delete only up to frame 2. Hit the little trash button can there and press OK. So now we deleted the actual frames. And this Air Canada logo and the Air Miles logo can either be there, or I can just have them. I can just hide them for now, right? I can hide them for now and just work with this. So I'm going to redo this in a more sequential, professional manner, okay? I can still do the frame by frame with Airbus. I think it's kind of cool and funny, but I can also mix it up. I can do both. I can do frame by frame and do this again and do this again, right? But I can show you a more professional, more similar, seamless method, okay? So I'm going to do that. But just so you know, I want to be able to make sure you understand you can do both. So for this one, I'm gonna start from here where the nose is showing slightly. I'm gonna produce a new frame, frame number 2. Now watch this special thing. Instead of going frame by frame, I'm gonna go all the way to where it's supposed to go, which is all the way over here. See that? So from beginning to end. So from here to all the way over here. So from point A to point B, beginning to the end. And then you select both of them with Shift. So I select both of them, and I use the very special thing called tween, which it's called in between. The term tween, and tween's been around for like decades now. Tween means how many frames you want to put in between. I mean, look, we're using computers. It's 2025, we have the most sophisticated microprocessors, AI. This should be easier than me doing frame by frame, right? So why don't we use the smarts and the software? So instead of me doing like that, I'm going to tell it to go from here to there, and I'm going to tell it how many frames I want it to reproduce or redraw for me. So I want to make it nice and smooth. So I'm going to put 20 frames. So 20 plus the 2, I'm going to have 22 frames of the airplane flying from here to there. Make sense? And the parameters are all layers, or the layers should be all layers. The parameters are position. Position is the only one that's applicable here because it's going to go from this position to that position. However, there's other parameters that this can be applied to in Photoshop, which account for opacity, which I'll demonstrate later, and effects, like something glowing or dispersing and things like that. So these three parameters can really carry a lot of potential for being creative with this tween animation. So let's go ahead and press the OK button and look how many frames produced right off the bat. It should be 22 frames because I told it to produce 20 plus 2 is 22. If I press the play button, you'll see the airplane fly perfectly from that position to the other position. How's that? Okay. So if you want more something, perfect and symmetrical and things, you can do tween by tween. If you want to do like a funny bee hopping around the flowers, picking up, you know, um, stuff from the flowers, I forgot what the term is now. Okay. It's something more natural, then you can do that, right? So whatever it is you want to produce is you can actually do it frame by frame, or you can do an actual tween. All right. So now it's all about how you produce the next sequence. So we're going to press the stop button. And the main thing to remember here is to start right where you left off at frame number 22. Now, if you notice, this is still the tail showing. So just to be on the safe side, I'm going to produce one more frame, number 23, and just move the airplane out of the way. I'll do the same thing with, well, I think that's okay for now. And then I can produce another frame, which is frame 24, and introduce my new cast member. In this case, it'll be the Air Miles logo. I'll just make it visible, or better yet, you can go File, Place Embedded, and as long as you have this create new layer or new layers visible in all frames, if you shut that off, because I think by default it's on, you won't have a problem. If you leave that on by default, this will be visible all the other frames. You follow me? So that's why you want to keep that off. Now, the way that it just pops up like this, I don't know if it's going to be kind of okay, because it's going to be too abrupt. Why don't we have this we can either have it fade in. We can't do scale, by the way. If you notice, you can't do scale. That's something we can do only in the video timeline, which means it gets smaller and bigger. That's something we can't do. But we can do opacity, we can do motion, and we can do effects. Remember the parameters I discussed earlier. So in this case, why don't we do opacity, like a fade in? So if that was the case, then I'd have this visible as you see it. I'll produce another frame, 25. So 24 and 25, they're both visible. But the 24th frame, which is the one before, so I go before and after, I go one back, and that one I produce the opacity to be 0. I just want to see it a little bit, so maybe I'll go like 10. So I'll do 10% opacity. So 10% to 100% opacity is how I want this thing to be executed. So that's the case. I select the 2 frames again, and this time I'm demonstrating the opacity tween. I go to the tween button here and I produce 20 is too much for this. So maybe I'll do like 10. 10 frames plus the 2 will produce 12 frames total. And this will demonstrate the opacity parameter. The previous one I did was position. We made the airplane move. Now we make the logo appear. Okay? And the next one I'll do with the effects. So I'm going to do all 3. So I'm going to do 10 frames. Now we're at 35 total. So if I press play, go. Looks nice and professional when you have these, fade in, fade out kind of effects. Okay. So what happens next?
I have a
Well,
basic question again.
go ahead.
I cannot move my image. Like you just go and I am on the beginning, on the first frame, because once I place my image, I tried linked it, I tried embedded. I don't know how to pronounce that, but I did one and the other one, and once I put my image there, it's there forever. I cannot move it later.
I'll have to see your screen, but let me just finish my demonstration here and I'll get back to you, okay?
Are you pressing something in particular
No,
or?
no, just moving it.
Okay.
I'm just moving it. But I'm almost done with this part, okay? And then what I'll do, Matson, I'll let you share your screen, okay? And I can help you, okay?
Thanks.
Don't worry about keeping up with me because this is something that's it's being recorded. I'm gonna have this on the thing. You can watch it slower, okay?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask because it's like kind of a basic thing and I just cannot grab the image. And if I
Are
don't
you
know
are
how
you in
to
the
do it,
auto
I will not be
select
able to do so.
layer? Is that what's on right now? Do you have that on? You
Where?
can't like with the move tool. Make sure the move tool selected in your auto select layer. You can just click on the image. Make sure it's not locked, and you should be able to move it.
Okay, let me find the option here. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So like I said, I'm gonna help you guys. Let me just first finish this demo here, and I'll be more than happy to help you and share your screen and stuff. So when I do this now, right, the opacity, what happens next is I can repeat again, duplicate frame. I can pause this for 1 second. I want this to pause. And then I'll produce another frame, and then I'll take out the pause. I'll go back to no delay means 0 seconds. So here it pauses, here it continues to play. And the way it's going to play is I'm going to have this thing exit. Exit means it's going to create a new frame again. I can exit it left. I can go down. I can go right. I can also have it go in the same direction the airplane went. So maybe I'll have it go in the same direction as the airplane. So it exits this way. And I'm going to select the last 2 frames again from here to there. And I'm going to hit the tween button and I'm going to do 15 frames because I'm doing 20 for the airplane, 10 for the opacity. 15 is enough for this to go from here to there. And that should be it. If I press the play button, airplane, there's the air mouse, and that pauses as well and goes. And the last thing I'll have is the Air Canada logo come in and do the same thing. Okay. And I'm already at frame 53. Okay. The last part I'll show you, and I'll promise I'll pause, I'll wait, and I'll help you guys do your part now. I just want to keep this video nice and flawless with the demonstrations because you're going to watch it later and try to keep up with me. I don't expect you to do this while I'm showing you at the same time, unless we're in a real classroom setting where I used to walk around and I didn't record videos back then. I would just show you to do this and you would do it with me live, and I would make sure you do it too. Okay, that's how I used to do things back in the day, but now they moved this online and I record my lessons as you see right now. So last thing is let's introduce the next thing, which is the Air Canada logo. And that's gonna, you know what I'm gonna have this logo do? I'm gonna have it drop from the sky, but it's also gonna fade and drop at the same time. So I'm gonna go from here to new frame over here. So from here to there, okay? And also the opacity will be 10. So you can do opacity and you can do motion at the same time. So I'm going to go Shift Select, hit the tween button, and I'll do 15 frames. And lastly, I'll have like a glow effect, and that'll wrap up the animation sequence. I should hit 100 frames when I'm done, which is the criteria of the project. So let's press the play button again. Airplane flies away. We got the Air Miles logo coming in. Air Miles logo flies away. Air Canada drops in. Okay. And now we'll have the fly. We should also put, get 50 bonus air miles or something like that, whatever the message is that we're trying to convey. So that means we have to introduce other graphics or other typography measures as well. But that's something that you can do at the given time. So let's quickly do this now. 69 to, let's do another one. Let's do 70. I'm going to double click on their Canada logo and apply outer glow. I'm going to do a nice white, clean glow like that. So it goes with the clouds. I'm going to go minimal size. Okay. So this has no effect. This one has an effect. As I mentioned earlier, you can also do the last parameters effects. So if I do another frame for 71, I'm going to double click here and increase the size and the spread and really make this thing glow. Okay. Like that. There we go. I think that's enough. So from this to this, it's really going to have a glowing effect. And you see this a lot in movies, special effects, and commercials. So I'm going to select 70 to 71. Same thing, hit the tween button. Oops, wrong button, sorry. 70, 71. Hit the tween button. And we're going to go 15 frames again. Now we're at frame 86. Okay. And then I'll go another frame after that. And that one we're going to lower the outer glow back to normal size. Okay, so it's going to look normal. And I'm going to tween from there to there again. So it's going to glow in, glow out. Okay, so here's another tween effect again, 15 frames again. Now I'm at frame 102. And 102 is where I'm going to stop my animation. And I just fulfilled the criteria of the project by doing a minimum of 100 frames, thanks to my motion tween capability here. So I'm going to save this Photoshop file first. Actually, call it animation tween frame animation. So I'm going to save this in the folder. What I also like to do is pause this. So at the end, I'm going to pause it for 2 seconds. So from here to there, pause it 2 seconds. Save again. Let's press play. That's a little slow, but I'll let it go for now. And then it glow in, glow out. Done. Okay, there's the ad. And of course, we can introduce more stuff like text and graphics and other things. We can always do that by inserting or placing more elements as you go along. This alone created a 100 frame animation. So to output it for web again, we do the same thing. We always save the Photoshop file first, because this saves your work file. Even if the timeline is gone and you look at something like this, don't think your animation's gone. You just have to look into your timeline to see if there's an animation present or not. Because a lot of times people mistake it and say, what happened to my animation? Well, it's there. You just have to look at your frames. And then you can go to serve this on the internet. You got to go to export, save for web. And I'm going to go ahead and save this as an animated GIF. Okay. Now this will be a pretty big file because it's 100 frames. It's 1,000 pixels. So give it some time to render. 11 megabytes. Oh my goodness. So this is the thing when you make these big files, they do accumulate size. Realistically speaking, stuff on social media, you're not going to make 100 frames. You're going to do something like that Tim Hortons ad, that's 6 frames or 10 frames or something. If you do something like this, keep it smaller, perhaps, or maybe make sure it's below 11 megs is not that bad, but it might give you some problems uploading it. I mean, this used to be a big deal 20 years ago. Right now, seriously, 11 megs isn't that much. So let's hit the save button. And oh, do I want this to play once, forever? Whatever, I'll leave it forever for now. So here we go again with my thing here. Okay. So I'll have it play forever. Done. On the setting, it does that. All right, so it's producing my animation right now as we speak. 11 megs, not bad. I mean, look, even videos get pretty up there in size. So, these days we got like gigabytes, terabytes of data. A meg is like 1,000 megabytes is 1 gigabyte, right? I don't know if you guys know your metrics yet. 1,000 gigabytes, is 1 terabyte. So that's how the equivalence of megabytes, gigabytes, terabytes. Then there's also kilobytes and bytes, and there's bits and bytes. So I just gave you a whole breakdown on this thing. There's the animation. This is what it looks like. Pretty nice, considering it's 256 colors. It's 1080 pixels by 1080 pixels. It's pretty smooth. And we have a glow effect as well. Not bad. And again, the size is, 11 megs, right? There's a little preview down here as well when you look at these animations. So now you guys can do some really, really cool stuff with your Photoshop. No more boring looking images. You can make your stuff come to life. Let's see if you produce a new window. This is how you really test your ad, okay? You drag it to a browser. Doesn't matter what browser. Any browser should be play your animation. This is the real test. All right. Now I'm going to stop the recording of the video and I'm going to answer some questions. I know some of you are following me on how to do this and stuff. So I'm going to stop the recording. This is basically what the class is all about today. So the rest of the period, I'm going to give you time to work on this in the same work session that we have here online, and I'll be ready to answer some questions if you have any. If not, you can just feel free to go on your own and do this wonderful animation assignment that's due next week. So I give you a nice week for this. You can get it done tonight if you want. I used to do this in the classroom live with my students and they would hand it in the same day. So for you guys, because it's online and maybe you have a different learning curve and stuff, I want to give the opportunity for everybody to do well and do this on your own terms. Okay. So please do this. Make sure you give me a GIF and a Photoshop file for next week in the same Blackboard area. All right, so I'm going to stop the recording now and answer questions and give you some time to get this done. And thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video. All right, here. All right, so have a good week, everyone. I'll see you in the next video, and let's get this animation done for next week. Bye for now.